So we start with virtually the only front cover not concerned with the COVID inquiry, Josh, that's The Guardian.
Yes, graveyard for children, airstrikes kill dozens at Gaza refugee camp. That graveyard for children is a quote from UNICEF, not that they have any skin in the game, so they have to work with Hamas, they operate at Hamas's discretion within there. And yes, but the IDF have said basically they did 2 airstrikes. This is, first of all, using the word refugee camp is somewhat of a misnomer. As you can see from the photo, it's a built-up city, but it's where people resided from 1975, for over the last 75, from 1948. And essentially, it seems like what happened was what Hamas, as we know, have been famously talking about how they built all these tunnels, and the IDF basically blew up or did an airstrike that seemed to have destroyed on a tunnel. There's on the ground evidence of buildings collapsing inwards, and it seems like they've killed about 50 terrorists. Now,
so that would look like sinkholes there.
Yeah, sinkholes, exactly.
Yeah, OK.
This is war, and I'm sure that there are civilians. Israel says it's done what it can to get people out, warning people to go. Also, there's been no electricity or water in this particular area for the last week or so. But you know, any civilian who dies is a tragedy. Of course.
I mean, it perhaps goes without saying, but there are always in wars 2 parallel engagements. There's the physical, the war, the battle, and then there's the propaganda war. Do you feel at this stage that Israel is keeping? I mean, obviously at this point it's almost unilateral. It's very asymmetric, certainly, because Hamas kicked it off and have just retreated now. How do you feel that's going from their point of view?
I mean, in terms of the bigger picture, I don't think Hamas thought that their attack would be so successful, and I think they're now realising that, yes, their days are numbered. It's not going to be overnight, but certainly Israel is very resolved to finish this war that they didn't start. In terms of the actual, the propaganda war, which I feel like I'm part of, frankly, I'm on my phone on Twitter all day, every day, trying to fight this narrative. It's a numbers game, and you're talking about... there are 16 million Jews in the world. There are 2 billion Muslims, and it's not just Muslims, but I'm just talking about when we're dealing with this level of numbers, it's very hard to fight against that. And also, there's so many. It's a very complicated issue. So to try and actually explain this stuff, look, no one wants to see pictures of dead children or dead anybody. It's horrible.
Can I ask you, Nick? I know that a number of people have been saying that Iran is the source of the weapons, the funding and the malice possibly behind this, and they will not particularly care about dead Palestinians, dead Gazans. Do you have any sort of view on that? I mean, this seems to be part of the narrative that doesn't really seem to get into the newspapers, and yet I see a lot of discussion about it quite openly on Twitter and so on.
Of course, Iran doesn't care about Palestinian civilians, just like Hamas doesn't care, and they openly say that, because they say this is the blood that gives us motivation and feeds our revolution and all that. And ultimately, the responsibility for the civilians lies with Hamas. It's no secret that they use these residential areas and civilians as human shields. They want to maximize these numbers exactly to give this sort of narrative to Western mainstream media, who would then create this moral equivalency between Israeli actions, who try not to actually target civilians, and the Hamas actions, who openly targeted civilians on October the 7th.